and I'm very excited about our first guest. We have a tremendous leadership team with us here, cross-industry financial services leadership, and then we're gonna have a panel discussion with this team today, talking about the issues that are relevant for financial services in a time of great uncertainty, rapid change, and rapid technological evolution. So I would like to welcome Amit Kumar. Amit is the leader of the financial services industry practice at UiPath. He is based in New York and is responsible for business development and go-to-market for financial services globally. He has more than 20 years of business and technology consulting experience in the United States, Europe, and Japan, focused specifically on banking and capital markets. Amit will be the moderator for our panel. He will introduce our next two guests. And Amit, what an honor and what a pleasure to have you with us here today. Thank you for joining BTOES Financial Services Live.
Thanks, Joseph, for your warm welcome. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session today. Exactly 1 year back, almost to the day, we all saw this world come to a standstill. Banking and financial services firms were some of the worst hit industries. But as pandemic unraveled, we began seeing stories of how the industry responded, especially to the loss of continuity of the operations. And one of the response mechanism was automation. There was massive use case surge, and there was success recorded across the industry. Which brings us to the current moment and topic of our session today. How did these banks and financial services firms embedded automation right into their operational fabric? And to discuss that, we have a very distinguished panel today, two industry stalwarts and industry thought leaders with us. And without further ado, I would start by inviting Shefali Shah to our panel today. Welcome, Shefali.
Thank you.
Good morning, Shefali. I'll start with a few words about Shefali for our audience. Shefali is a managing director and head of intelligent automation at corporate investment banking at JP Morgan, where she leads the charge for data-driven solution. She leads the charge for digital process discovery and intelligent automation for CIB, looking across all the three dimensions, whether it is the operational efficiencies, improving client experience for CIB, as well as the risk reduction. Great to have you, Shefali, for our panel today.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Our next panelist is someone that we have been in close connect with, Ahmed Hussain. Ahmed, welcome to the panel. He's joining us from Alliance Data.
Hello, everyone.
Great to have you, Ahmed. For our audience, few words about Ahmed. Ahmed is the Intelligent Automation Product Manager and Automation COE Lead at Alliance Data, where he and his team had delivered 500,000 hours in 2020 alone using automation. He has extensive experience in financial services, process automation, and digital transformation. Ahmed, we are super stoked to hear your journey at Alliance Data and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you.
Perfect. We have about half an hour to discuss several questions, so I'll not waste any more time and go directly into the first question that I'm going to pose to Shefali. And Shefali, I'm going to preface by saying that you have been one of the earliest adopter, if not the earliest adopter of automation at JP Morgan. What has been that journey been like? And if you could also share some of the objectives that you had set in when you started this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And your reminder that we're a year into the pandemic and a lockdown, it's quite surreal, and it's an interesting time to discuss this. So thank you, for having us here. So journey for me with automation started, and specifically with RPA and the intelligent automation, started as one of the consumer and the operations head who needed this tool to enhance and optimize my own organization when I was managing operations. So when this was introduced to us, to the firm, with my technology partners and the transformation team, I was the first one to sign up for it, not knowing what even RPA stood for 4 years ago. And we had some very early success with our unattended bots, integrating those solutions into our organization. From then on, having seen the success and the capability and the evolution of this space and industry, I took on a role as the head of intelligent automation in late 2017. And from there on, my journey has been about introducing the solutions and partnering with my operation leads and the functional process owners and the technology team to continue to deploy the solutions to the organization. And predominantly, the key objective of it has been to improve our excuse me, improve our quality of our processing, and free up our time for more complex and a customer facing transaction and volume, and deliver that, and to create efficiency in our process, scalability in our process, and reduce risk of control related aspect. That's what's been our journey has been so far, and we're excited to continue this journey into the years to come.
Fantastic, Shefali. I mean, I think it's quite riveting to note your journey from being a practitioner in terms of operations leader to someone now who's leading the charge of automation across the bank itself. I think it's fascinating to see that kind of evolution as you noted.
Yeah, it's kind of like taking your own medicine, or taking your own. I really have to truly believe in it and have it working in it. Working it to be able to then deliver the value from it. So yeah, it has been interesting. Thank you.
Fantastic. Ahmed, I know personally that Alliance Data has some unique perspective about how automation could help, but I would rather hear from you, and if you could share with the audience, what is the state of automation program at Alliance Data?
Before I get started with the automation journey in Alliance Data, I want to say that back in 2018, when we are in the midst of researching that we need to do process automation to the next level, I've been very close to process and process reengineering, process automation, pretty much my entire career. And when we were exploring that, I was in conferences and such, and I've seen Shefali and her team what they have been able to achieve, and we're like, wow, that's amazing. It would be great to be able to get anywhere close. So we set a very audacious goal. We got started in 2019. And it was a unique, setup where I was part of enterprise services group, and our enterprise data science team had understood that there's an untapped opportunity being able to automate a lot of those repetitive, redundant stuff, right? So how we did is we had a coalition of different organizations. Our chief data officer as well as enterprise services partnered and took that initiative off the ground. And in year one, just the year we went live, we had tremendous support from our organization and the leaders, and created a community of practice where IT and business partners and information security, they all came together that understood the enormity of the value that we need to deliver. And in year one, we have been able to reach our target. And as you mentioned, last year, we had a high target of getting to 500,000 hours of hours saved, and being able to give back that capacity to the business. And we have been able to achieve that and exceed that. A lot has happened in the last year. It has been a tremendous journey where we had the support from our leadership, we had the support from our organization. As you can see that we have worked with our back office mostly, as well as in our collections area mostly. The reason being is that is where a lot of manual effort was there, and then the work was very defined. So those were our low-hanging fruit that we could go after. And in a very short period of time, we have been able to automate 38 processes that are in those departments, in addition to other areas in the organization. We have taken that more of an enterprise initiative rather than siloing it into any specific department. I think that's a key difference that I think was contributing to our success. And then now we're pivoting more into intelligent automation, not just doing those repetitive, mundane tasks, but also being able to perform some of those cognitive services, being able to understand what our card members are sending us in their letters and documents, in their emails, and being able to understand and process that in a more intelligent way that allows us to deliver a response to them better, faster, and also improve their satisfaction with our relationship.
Fantastic, Ahmed. I mean, these are great metrics, but I would say that the cross-industry collaboration point that you mentioned, where you were aware of the success that Shefali and team were having, early success that they were having at JP Morgan, and that is quite fascinating, for me to know and for our audience to know, because these firms, banking financial services firms can definitely collaborate at this forum to get to know in terms of what is working and what is not working. I think that is super fascinating, and I think you are paying it forward now in the whole Columbus area, where you are going ahead and you're also talking to the other firms and letting them know about your lessons and the challenges that you may find at the Alliance Data.
Absolutely. We have a very vibrant intelligent automation community here in Columbus, Ohio, where we monthly get together and talk about, what progress we're making, what are some of the things that we could be doing, and really lend hand to each other's success. If we are stuck in questions, be it, what kind of resources do I need to support this function, this new technology that we're trying to onboard, or someone has already piloted a platform that is going to help us do some of those intelligent document processing, or some of the other technologies that has brought success. We're eagerly sharing with each other and also helping us along the way to get to the success sooner and faster.
Thank you. Thanks, Ahmed. Thanks for sharing that. So we'll pivot now to the main theme of this session itself. And there was never a dull moment in 2020 from UiPath perspective, especially in banking and financial services. We saw a massive upsurge, but I would request Shefali, because you had the best seat inside the largest bank in US. What did you see? How did automation play a role? If you could share that with our audience today.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying times, us as a human, being around the globe, right? The crisis that hit was around the globe. In the past, crisis hit, we have the business continuity plan where we transfer work from between locations or between teams, but this was a paramount where we did not have that. And we were all struggling around the globe to get settled to working from home and so forth. So our first, look was around making sure all of our team members are well settled, they were safe, they had the capability to work from home. So getting all that done and focusing on that along with our clients and customer was a key. And the second was to make sure all of our client and customers were taken care of, right, with their needs. They were struggling as well with their own strategy around getting things up and running. So that was our focus. And with automation, given our already established program and established capability of leveraging automation and the solution kits that we have, and not just RPA, but we're also leveraging other data transformation tools like Alteryx, Exaptor, and other internal product suites. we were able to leverage and bring those at forefront, and we had teams who were aware of how these tools work around the globe. So they were quickly able to either A, given the volatility of the market and the solutions we already had in place, we were able to scale those automation solutions. So we added additional bots, for example, when the markets were 3 times as high volume in our markets organization with trades allocation or trade confirmation and so forth. So that was very easy to do. When we were asked to gather a lot of additional matrix and data, where the staff is, who's able to work from home, where is the volume, all of that matrix requirement and getting that data organized and presentable and decision making, we were able to leverage some of this automation tool in a rapid manner to produce that information to be able to allow our senior management team to make decisions. So that was a key value add. And the third thing, I think, being in a banking industry, as we all know, when the government around the globe introduced the relief package, programs, we were the one had to process those in a very rapid manner. So some of our team, not my peer group in our corporate banking and consumer banking, also leveraged automation to create processes that supported those relief programs to get the money and the capital to the small businesses, to the individuals. So those were some of the examples how we quickly adopted automation, having those foundation cultural engagement on it to leverage these solutions. And from then on, more opportunity has opened up as teams realize where there are manual bottlenecks, where there is additional impact to integrate additional solutions. And we're also advancing into how do we make our operational user also be able to code, as a citizen developer, some of these solutions with introducing more low code, no code capability as well. So that's how we leveraged it, and it was very grateful to have this capability.
Absolutely. When people say scale, outside, they may not mean the word, but for JP Morgan, scale is truly planetary. So I can't really, can't really think of the number as well as the, overall scale that you would have to, support in last 1 year. So truly fascinating to hear that, Shefali. Perfect. Ahmed, you were also super busy in 2020. We did talk about a few months back, but I think this audience would definitely need a refresher on what Alliance Data was, working on when it came to using automation to address some of the pandemic-related issues.
Absolutely. So this pandemic has thrown a unique set of challenges. I'll echo a lot of the sentiment that Shefali has shared. Organizations were found in completely uncharted territory to be able to deal with it in a meaningful way, in a safe way, and making sure associates are safe, making sure that the customers are handled. Organizationally, our care center, where we have brought in a lot of the automations, had been an on-premise setup, right? We had never in our remote thought that we would be able to have that setup done so quickly in a work from home kind of thing. So outside of intelligent automation and RPA, the whole organization came together to help figure that out. In less than 2 weeks, we were able to set up the entire process where our care center associates can work from home. And boy, oh boy, have we seen the kind of productivity. Initial thought was if people are working from home, they would not be able to be as productive. And with managing everything else, and with this stressful situation of pandemic and fear and worry everywhere, we and as well as our associates have come to the plate and has delivered on them. One of the things that we have seen in our industry is when the pandemic happened, and unfortunately a lot of our card members were affected, right? Some of the businesses were closing and such. and the volume of calls as well as inquiries had increased dramatically, where organizations just couldn't respond in an easy way. Not enough staff there to maintain that kind of volume to support. We had to step in and kind of come in and assess where we could let the card members know how best they can communicate with us, calling the phone number, the 1-800 phone number to contact us was not a best setup for them anymore, because everyone was trying to call and our staff was just not equipped to handle that kind of volume. So we stepped in and provided that information with automation. And that brought a very quick relief. We had to quickly deliver those solutions in a very short period of time, and provided those solutions. And then we started thinking, how do we need to now reimagine ourselves and the work that we do? We have seen tremendous support from organizational leaders to really think automation in a different shade of lens, where we are now questioning, why don't we automate things that are more repetitive? I believe this pandemic has accelerated the amount of automation that we as an industry, as a country, and as a nation that we have seen, where we would not have imagined to be where we are after a year, versus if we didn't have the pandemic as a factor in our lives.
Absolutely, Ahmed. In fact, I was reading a survey by Bain that they did last year, and it talked about 90% of financial services firms have actually accelerated, just as you noted, accelerated their adoption of the automation. But I think I would also, summarize or conclude this, this particular question is actually two human stories or human interest stories. I mean, Shefali talked about how JP Morgan helped commercial borrowers and gave much needed liquidity to their customers as part of the government programs across the globe. And I think Alliance Data did pretty much the same with their card members and ensuring that they are responding to those requests in time. So I think there is also automation for good as a theme that I would take away from this particular section. Perfect. So, for the audience, we're just getting warmed up, and now we move into the second half, and this is, this is going to be a more like future forward or tech forward kind of a discussion where, at least at UiPath, we see the automation aperture of a platform widening or broadening, where process discovery, AI, NLP, ML being added. But I would rather pose this to a practitioner like Shefali first. Shefali, what do you think is going to be critical success factor in terms of key capabilities for the automation platform in future, from your vantage point?
Yeah, absolutely. It's accelerating and evolving journey, right? And I think this is not a program or not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing area that we need to focus on. I think having been practiced this for last 4 years, right, and we've kind of patched some stuff together along the way. As a platform and as a solution or as a practitioner, in your own firms, the capabilities are, I think, around not just the platform, but I always say it's people, process, and technology, right? So all three has to come together. You can't do one thing separately to the other, right? And think you're going to have this great platform and it's just going to automate things itself. So for me, the continuous capabilities, bringing the people aspect of this, the educating our teams and our process owners and the process doers on this capability. So I think the education and adoption and understanding this tool set by our people is a critical, and continue to upskilling the teams, right? I read an article in New York Times yesterday or on Sunday that bots are coming to, take a, I forget the person name the article used in accounting, right? and it's not that bots coming to take your job away, right? It's around understanding what it can you harness as a human capability, creativity, and problem solving by doing your mundane task and automating it. So people is very forefront and factoring that into this capability. The second is understanding your process and understanding your end-to-end process. And where are the gaps and why does this manual steps exist in the first place into your process? What's driving this mundaneness and the repetitive task and some complex tasks that are manual in your process? So understanding and having the platform, having a capability of process mining, task capture, task mining as an integrated solution, I think it's a real value add as we go forward and as we look to continuously leverage these solutions. And then the third thing is around integrating these capabilities, right? So you found where the manual tasks are. How do we now look at it and automate it in a streamlined way? So being able to code that automation in a more streamlined way, allowing our citizen developers with low code, no code capability to automate their own processes. So you're not queuing up, the projects and initiatives, for a 3 month, 6 month, 9 months. So how do we rapidly automate and get the process we know are not to be done manually with having democratized capability around the firm so people can learn and do it in a controlled manner. So the fourth thing is to bring this thing in a controlled environment, right? So be able to centrally govern and control what's happening, what people are automating, what processes we're identifying, I think is a key in a platform. And finally, the fifth thing is as these things are evolving, it's bringing in additional capability than just traditional tasks like a manual task and keying automation. It's also bringing in machine learning and some of the additional kind of advanced capability into the platform, like being able to understand and read documents. I think Ahmed mentioned that, right? As you read emails, documents, how do we bring that capability into the platform? And then finally, some of the machine learning capability as well. So those are the 5 things I would say are critical as we evolve and continue to leverage, especially those who are just starting out in the journey, to take into factor. And they each can work independently, but I think having it work as an integrated solution is a key.
That's very useful advice, Shefali, for someone in these firms who are either beginning or are in the midst of doing automation. And I did read that New York Times article. Phil from accounting, I think Phil was his name. and my head was nodding when you said the transition from doer today who's doing it manually to an automation user, and that whole journey to perhaps a citizen developer. That was a trajectory that was going through in my mind when I read that article. Perfect. Ahmed, you are one of the most unique programs where data science and automation sit very tightly together. Just to build on Shefali's comments about those 5 pillars. I mean, what's your perspective from Alliance Data perspective on the automation platform and the operating model of the future?
Absolutely, and you're very right about the data science and us and analytics sitting very close to each other and within the same line of business has helped codify the idea of what is the art of the possible when it comes to automation. The Gartner's coined term of hyper automation is at the forefront of what we are all thinking about. It doesn't have to be always RPA. What are the different technologies that we need to bring into the platform? That way we are able to do straight through processing, the end-to-end development of the workflow, and being able to automate wherever there is manual intervention is there, which I would say the core RPA use cases. In addition, where are we able to leverage our cognitive services, being able to figure out the intent of the email from the customer, as well as understanding what work that we need to pass on. So we have a very unique use case that I don't think it's very unique. We had a use case that we have implemented and had received tremendous success. So what we had done last year is we implemented a human-in-the-loop automation setup for our care center, where they're getting the customer's secure email messages and responding to them. When we are in the midst of pandemic, the increase of volume of all kinds of things, in addition to customers being falling behind and being late, has been an issue. And to assist with that, we are getting about 110,000, or actually it's much higher now that we look back. We are getting hundreds of thousands of inquiries to say, I wasn't able to make my payment, my job was affected, I got late, can you remove the late fee? And our associates had to read those and process those. The request is not very complex, but we didn't have a way to process that in any intelligent way. So what we had done is we partnered with our data science team and asked, what could we be doing to deliver that solution? And that unique setup helped us kind of figure out the way to figure out the intent of the email, doing the NLP processing, and then pass that knowledge over to our PA bot, which already knew how to do those account maintenance pretty well, connect to all of our backend systems, perform those activities, and remove the late fee, remove the associated finance charges for the consumer, make them happy, and then send them an email response. What it did is it increased the time, they increased the adoption to SLA. We were able to assist our customers in a much better time frame, and it gave business a unique perspective. Typically, when we come in with a solution, a lot of the thing, I call it magic, happens behind the screen. You don't really get to interact with that. Versus this setup allowed our associates to actually interact with the prediction. When the email messages are coming in, the prediction was presented in front of them saying, hey, the cognitive service thinks that it is the consumer is asking us to remove the late fee. Do you agree or not agree? And the moment the associate is agreeing with that decision, the activity is handed off to our unattended robotic process automation, where it's fulfilling all that account maintenance. Versus if they're disagreeing, we're storing all that information. That way we can go back and retrain our model, so we are making better decisions in the future. And the kind of support and then the kind of partnership we have received from the business, since we have gave them the visibility into how those decisions are being made, makes me think that we would be able to take automation much farther. And then automation works well when you have the true partnership, and we feel that having these sort of mentality, and as well as the tool set that we have been able to implement, would really set us up for success here in Alliance Data.
It's great to see pragmatic and practical scenarios like these come up, Ahmed, and I think that is almost always possible when you have data science and automation sort of working hand in hand. So kudos to you and team at Alliance Data.
And then one thing I would add, I think, Ahmed, what you, Krina, and I probably didn't touch on, is around that partnership also with your core technology team, right? Your underlying platforms, as well, because that's where the data comes from. That's where the actions are taken and the transactions are updated, right? So having that partnership with people and also your underlying, technology team, as you put in this, integrated solution on the top of it, or surrounding it, is a key as well. And great to see your success story with, engaging the human in taking a decision, as the bots is suggesting, or the ML solution, NLP, suggesting. It's a great use case. but that partnership is such a key across the organization.
Absolutely, we have a term for that. Is the term is, it takes a village to make automations happen, and where you have the technology partners, you have the business partners, you have information security, you have the enterprise risk organization, all coming together and really vetting the solution to say, does it make sense? Should we be doing it? And if we should, what is the best way forward?
Yeah, that governance is another key, right? Us as a bank, we just went through a OCC exam, right, to say how are you doing all this solution? What are you making decisions? So that control aspect as a central governance is a key as well. So it's a balancing of citizen developers. We have companies that gives us bot for free right now. Microsoft just announced something. UiPath has a great platform, but we need to put this enterprise-wide and a community and a group of people come together in a governance structure to deploy it in a methodical manner, right? Otherwise, you're going to have a very problem at your hand with bots just kind of out there, individually citizen developers developing it without having this partnership and control could be a bad problem to tackle with. So starting out that in a right way is a key.
No, I think these are all great. I mean, almost like a voice of customer, I would say, Shefali and Ahmed, listening to you, and fascinating. Given the fact that we just have 45 minutes, otherwise this particular session should actually be 2 or 3 hours, given the density and the depth that we need. I'll pivot to, it's almost like vision setting, and both of you have that vantage point. But I'll start with Shefali. What's the true north or nirvana that you are seeing, or rather you would set in terms of the the end state, so to say, in terms of the automation? What would be that vision look like?
Yeah, I mean, there is still a lot to do, right? But my vision and with my operations partner and, anyone who I've done manual processing myself, in my career, right? So my vision, and I think the enterprise-wide vision, is to truly, eliminate some of the manual processes and unnecessary, tasks, and create a digital platform that is integrated as a single, one office term we have heard, in the past, that all these different organizations, different operating units kind of come together on a single platform, that it's all, integrated as possible. And then it's truly driven by customer experience, right? What do we want our customer to have and need and want? So drive all of our activity and processes from a customer point of view. Even we do it today, but we can do more of it, right? And really tying in all these different organization and operations group together. And the second vision for me is to truly free up our human capabilities and creativity by reducing and eliminating manual, mundane, unsatisfying tasks and long hours that the teams work. So we free up time, for family, for well-being, and so when Jamie Dimon has said, right, when we get down to 4-day work or 3-day work, right, rather than a 6-7 day work weeks that some of us just, grind towards. So I think that's kind of a north star, right? But more and immediately continue to look for end-to-end processes, continue to look for data-driven decision when you automate, so you know what impact you're making and set those metrics to measure that impact. And it's not just how many hours or how many employees you kind of reduced or like that, but a true impact to the business, to the customer. And then do it in this collaborative way, cross teams, to drive the value, bringing in your machine learning, data scientists, bringing in your, citizen developers, and so forth, to continue to drive that business and customer value would be my, vision for this practice.
But I think, Shefali, that actually resonates. And I was listening to, Jamie Dimon's interview on Bloomberg the other day, and I think you captured the essence of it. He was talking about return to work and what that future would look like in terms of automation playing a role, from employee, but more also from the customer experience standpoint, really resonates, for a large global world-class bank like yours. Ahmed, I think you guys have very ambitious vision as well at Alliance Data. If you could share those perspectives with our audience today.
Absolutely. So one of the things that happens with any organization is, fragmentation with using many different technologies. So hopefully the automation will make things easier, keeping the customer experience at our forefront, and also making our associate experience where they're able to do the work in a more frictionless way, where they're able to deliver the best solution to the customer in a easy and comfortable way. I think is the nirvana for automation. Fully automated organization look like. We have a very audacious goal with what I would say from the very beginning. We wanted to make sure that it's not something that we wanted to just do automation for the sake of automation. It is tied with our long range planning to deliver on our commitments, and this year, our target is to be able to exceed more than 1 million hours of automation, and to devise that, what we feel that we would be able to get there, and we have implemented some of those already, are how do we include the hybrid, which is power user development, where they are doing the automation development, be it RPA as well as data science, and go into with the citizen development, where we are able to achieve even higher goals, right? Going into 2022, which would be even higher than what we are planning for this year and next year. So fully automated organization would look like where associate is able to freely move through the various systems, where they don't have to worry about I have to enter that information from one system to another, but in addition, where they are they are able to provide their abilities into the more value-added activity, rather than things that just drain the energy as well as the time of doing of those mundane tasks, and doing more retains all the knowledge within the organization. That way future task and automation becomes easier and better for us.
1 million hours saved target, Ahmed, looks like a great clarion call for entire Alliance Data. I think it's a great metric and target to look forward to. I'm looking at the clock, and I think we can go on and on. I can just sit here and listen to both of you, but I think we just have about few minutes to get Jose, and maybe if he could share some of the questions that he's seeing from our audience today, and that could we could ask the panelists to respond to that.
That's terrific, Amit. Thank you for that. We got lots of questions during the talk, which very insightful perspectives from leaders who are actually doing this level of automation in financial services. So I'm going to go right into it. And the first question comes from Katerina Kamiva. Katerina asks, how can you describe the operational model for RPA specifically, but more broadly speaking for automation in your organizations? Is it centralized? Is it a decentralized model? Is it managed by the businesses or some separate business excellence organization or center of excellence? So if you can talk a little bit about governance and operating model for automation.
I'll take that first one. So this is we are managing the intelligent automation and RPA in a centralized manner. However, as we have heard, we are very quickly moving over to how do we do a little bit of federated and going into all the way to the citizen development setup. The governance is a key factor, especially in the financial organizations, where you have to make sure that the proper controls are there. Enterprise risk is thought of early on, and having that governance kind of ensures that. So the centralized setup kind of helps you get started easily in a controlled way. But now that we have the practices in place, now that we have the governance in place, now we can use that as a foundation and scale from there to go all the way up to the citizen development setup.
Yeah, similar at JP Morgan as well. Each business unit were very large. So each business unit has a center of excellence. We have a firm-wide council that also governs all business units at a kind of macro level. And then within each business unit and under the center of excellence, we govern and support the platform, different solutions that we talked about that we integrate in a centralized manner. And then we have kind of decentralized federated model to idea generation, opportunity identification, and then managing the project execution in a rapid manner. And now we're evolving into citizen developer model as well with a centrally controlled and governed structure.
Excellent. I'm going to go on now to William Fuller, who asks, we hear a lot about low code and no code application and tools. And in general, even RPA, a lot of people are talking about RPA is going to be like, you're going to learn how to use it in college as much as you know how to use Excel, as an example. So it's going to become very much kind of a day-to-day type of tool and application. So the question is, if you can talk a little bit about your experiences with the learning curve for getting these tools to be productive, and how you get the non-technical employees on board with these tools and applications.
Yeah, I mean, I can start, right? I think the key is learning and having that curiosity and that willing for our teams and anybody who's interested in this to, learn. And that's the key. And then other thing is the necessity and evolving your careers, right? And from a manually task doing to becoming a, solution developer and a builder, things. So I think that curiosity is the first thing. So the way we have done at JP Morgan to have teams adopt this is we have a program called Skills of the Future, where we have put together not just learning how to code, but how to solve, problem, how to understand where the manual processes are, how they, work, and then how do you actually apply this solution to that problem. And then we have taught, teams through boot camps, through, hackathon, to apply the solutions and, hold hand, along the way, right? As they do it, we provided office hours. We provided learning, forums for them to do this. So I think it's an evolvement. Start with curiosity. There's a lots of, free solutions and training and classes available online. So learn, that way, and then being able to bring it to your day-to-day problem and apply it with your broader team is the way I think we have taught people how to do it. And people want to do more of it.
Exactly. And if I may ask Jose, or rather mention, UWeb app has completely democratized the training. So, go to our website, you'll find all the training pertaining to the platform. It's free. You can take exams, and as Shefali mentioned, I think curiosity will take you on that trajectory.
Yeah, low code
That's
and no
fantastic.
code is here to stay, and we're going to see more and more of it. I think with the automation, we have this mantra within Alliance Data is, the automation is our friend. It is not, automation or associate. It is automation and associate, right? How do we make their life easier and better? And going into future, as we are looking at it, the biggest risk that we have as a country, as an industry, is resources with the right skills. So being able to continually learn and do those things in an effective way where you are able to solve business problems are going to be the fundamental differences. So having training available, making sure that there are different venues where associate can really learn and practice those things are key for these organizations to succeed and excel to the next level.
Thank you so much for that. Unfortunately, as Amit has said, we can talk about this all day long, but we're out of time right now. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. Amit, fantastic job moderating this discussion. Shefali, Shah, Ahmed, Hussain, thank you for sharing your expertise, your insights, your real practitioner view and applications. On behalf of our 2,000 global registered participants, we very much welcome you taking the time to share your expertise with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Amit.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a great way of kicking off day 2 with a tremendous panel of leaders and practitioners of automation. So thank you very much for all of your questions as well. We couldn't get to all of them. Remember, go onto LinkedIn. You can post your questions in there. You can make comments. Several of our speakers go back to the posting and they will answer questions and your comments as you post them later on. We are going to wrap up this session now, and at the top of the hour, we're going to bring the head of operations and enablement for Asia services at Sun Life Financial. Shantanu Kodisia is going to be here with us. He's going to talk about re-engineering as a methodology to streamline the claims process and identify opportunities for robotics process automation. So we're going to see you with Shantanu at the top of the hour, and so we'll see you back soon.